Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to see you and have you with us. And we're thankful for BTC Fiber, our sponsor for our program, so very thankful for them. Today we have with us Randy Phillips, Chief of Police for the Dunlap Police Department. And Randy, it's good to have you with us today.
It's nice to be here, Glenn. Thank you.
And I know you've been on the force for 20 plus years, haven't you?
25 years, August the 14th.
Wow.
It'll be my 25th year anniversary.
Wow, that's great. That's great for a police officer nowadays.
That is very true.
And
it's a pretty long career.
Yeah, it really is. But I know I even had you in school.
That's true.
And so I know you love the city and love the area, or you wouldn't be here.
I was born and raised here. This place is dear to my heart, and I absolutely love the area and love the people.
Well, that's great. Since you've been chief since late February, what are some things that have challenged you that you maybe weren't expecting?
I guess the biggest thing that I've not expected has been COVID. COVID's been we went from COVID come out, and we went from 2 meetings a week down to 1 a week, and now we went to 1 a month, and now we're down to we're at 1 a month right now. But it's no one expected it, and it's been an experience. I have to say, we're trying to keep everyone safe, try to keep all the officers safe, and the way we went about doing things has changed a little bit with COVID.
So I imagine, well, as most everybody in the country, especially first responders, they had to change the way they approach people. And
that is correct. We a lot of times when I worked patrol, it was normal for me to respond to someone's house and go in the house and talk to everybody and just basically normal things.
Right.
We've kind of backed out of that a little bit with COVID, where we're having people come outside to talk to us, if it's possible. Handicapped people and things like that have made that a little more difficult. But in order to keep the officers safe, we've implemented having the people come out and talk to us, and some more safety precautions with masks and gloves and things like that.
Right. I know with your job, especially with police officers, it's more of a building a relationship with the people.
It is about building relationships, and that has been a struggle with some of this stuff. For the most part, we're making it through it pretty well, but it is a lot of the time our doors have been locked because of COVID. City Hall's doors are still locked because of COVID while they do some remodeling. But we remodeled the police department, or at least part of it, secured our lobby, and now we're back open for business.
Well, good. I know it's been unsure for everybody.
It's definitely a lot of unknowns.
So, that's kind of a sad thing for our country, but it's the way it is.
It is. It's definitely a sad thing. Hopefully, we're going to get past this quickly and move on back to the way things were originally.
Well, concerning your officers, how many officers do you have right now?
Right now, there's 12 of us, including me, which is what we've had for a pretty good while, since the annexation back in the early 2000s. But there's 11 guys plus me, so 12 total.
Is there a room? Well, of course that goes to budgets, but is there room for more that you could use?
I would, if I can get one more patrol guy, and I have in the budget, I've asked for that with the city commission. The way that I want to restructure, I can put 2 officers on each day shift and 2 officers on each night shift, so that there's never an officer working by themselves,
right,
which I think will be more safe for the citizens and for the officers.
Sure, because even I know with the county, there's such a large area, they could be on one mountain and have to answer to another mountain.
That is very true, and we do back them up sometimes in cases like that. Fortunately, we've got about 7 square miles in the city, so it's a little easier on us. But we can pretty much be anywhere within 3 or 4 minutes if we have an emergency call. We don't struggle as much as what they do with the distance, but we do try to back them up if they need something.
Well, I know even when I'm in town or actually going home, I see the city patrolling quite a bit. Because I mean, I want you to.
Yeah, well, I'm big on being seen. I want the officers to be seen out in the neighborhoods, and I want us to be more involved in the community.
Uh-huh.
And I guess the main thing is law enforcement today doesn't have the best reputation, and fortunately, we live in an area where the citizens of this town are very much in support of us, and that is not normal for most areas, and we are very gracious for that.
Yeah, I know. Right now, of course, with the news across the country, everybody in the bigger cities want to defund the police and all this, but that's not the case here.
That's not the case here. We actually, a lot of my guys and a lot of the sheriff's department guys were at the county commission meeting last night, where the commissioners and County Executive Cartwright put out a proclamation in support of defending law enforcement instead of defunding law enforcement.
Right, and we should, because as some of the news organizations have pointed out, who would you call if you needed someone if you defunded the police?
It would definitely be a bad situation if you defund the police. Whenever you need them and they're not there, it's going to really be lots of issues.
And well, speaking of budgets, how does the city with their budget, as far as equipment for your law enforcement officers, are y'all doing pretty good with your equipment, or is there things you need?
We have, there's always a few things that we would like to have. We're very well equipped with what we need. We're in a good situation. The former chief, Clint Hoop, he had us and left me in a pretty good shape with vehicles and the equipment that I need. But there's always things you have on your wish list that you'd like to have.
Right.
And if it's financially feasible, I'd be willing to buy that. And if it's not, then I have to think about what's best, not only for the police department, but for the citizens of this town.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure there's some things you don't want citizens to know you have.
we do have some things that most of the citizens don't know we have, and that I probably wouldn't want to talk about. But we do have some things that, like the 4th of July, an instance, if we had some protesters, we do have some things that we could use in those situations. So.
Right. I mean, well, you never want to reveal all your secrets, especially in law enforcement. You don't want everybody to know. If they knew, then you wouldn't have any secret.
That is very true.
And there would be no element of surprise.
That's very, very true.
And speaking of, I guess, criminals, I noticed when I read the paper sometimes, a lot of the people that are arrested are not actually from here. They're from out of town.
We do have a lot. We do have a lot of people that travel through here that are arrested, and we have some that are making their way out to the outskirts of Chattanooga. And I guess they look at it like there's less law enforcement in Dunlap. There's not as many as there are in Chattanooga, and there's less chance of them getting caught over here. But we've been pretty fortunate so far. Last year we had several vehicles broken into that were coming out of Chattanooga. People were coming out of Chattanooga to do that, and we were fortunate enough to apprehend those. And we've had some more of that this year that they're working the case on, that they have some pretty good leads on. It looks like we might hopefully be able to get that taken care of also.
Well, that's good, because I know when I do read the reports, sometimes I see quite a few people that have been arrested for quite a few things, not just maybe not just a DUI, but sometimes some pretty serious things.
That's correct. And the only thing that I can answer that it might be is just because we're a smaller area and they think there's less law enforcement and less chance to be caught.
But I know y'all stay on top of things. I mean, I know you get your leads from various agencies and things, but y'all stay on top of things pretty well.
We do. We try to stay up to date on everything. Like during the 4th of July, we were hearing lots of rumors about that there was going to be people protesting, and I wore out Chattanooga PD's intel unit for 3 weeks. I wore them out on a normal basis, just to see if they were hearing anything or if there was anything on the internet that was coming through on the various sites they monitor. And it worked out for us. There was nothing ever came through. Everything was positive, and we had a good forward.
And speaking of wearing out the internet and so forth, do y'all have anybody here locally if someone was being harassed through phones or through the internet? Do y'all have somebody here locally that works with that any at all? Or
We pretty much all of my officers have. We go through training every year over different situations. Some that's mandated by the state, some that's not. I have a detective that's very good about keeping in touch with other departments and staying up to date on technology. We do have quite a few phone scams and internet scams that come through, and he's up to date on where he can take the phones and have those dumped and get that information. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff on the internet, by the time they bounce it off several different places,
right.
What we're finding is a lot of that is coming from overseas,
right.
and there's just no way to prosecute that whenever it's in another country. So
Right.
it makes things a little more difficult.
I noticed here recently, just for myself, I've received phone calls, and I'll go back and call the number, and it's an individual, but the call that came through was a 1 plus the 423, and then
Yes.
so they're calling from other places.
Yeah, they're definitely there's lots of apps out there right now where you can put in any phone number you want to show up if you call someone, and that makes things more difficult for law enforcement. There are ways to get around that. Like I said, we have to issue some subpoenas and we have to pull some cell phone records, but most of it ends up coming from out of country. We do have some that comes from here in the United States, and we have forwarded on case files to different jurisdictions in order to take care of those issues.
All right, well, good, because I know a lot of people sometimes, well, I think the people around here understand, but it's more than just patrolling the streets. There's more to policing than just patrolling the streets.
There's definitely more to law enforcement than just patrolling the streets. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. I guess my family, my father and my brother, they have a lot of questions about law enforcement when I talk to them, and they felt like that, that's what law enforcement does. They ride around and they be seen and they answer their calls, and they're finding out from talking to me, not in depth. They don't know everything that goes on with me, or with law enforcement or the department, but they have found out that it's a lot more in depth than what they ever thought it was.
Well, I know things like undercover work, or maybe you're having to check somebody out at night, and stuff like that.
We do a lot of drug buys, trying to lessen the amount of drugs that are going around in the city. We have several complaints of alcohol being sold to underage people. We've done some buys over that with different agencies. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on, and it doesn't all happen just here with the police department. It happens. We do it in cooperation with the sheriff's department and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and other departments along the way.
So it won't always be one of your officers that does something, but it's in connection with your office.
That is true. It may not always be one of my guys that you actually see. It could be someone else, but there's a good chance that my department's involved.
Right. So it's not like it's always hidden. It is hidden, but it's not where they know, oh, there's Randy, I know him.
That's correct. That's correct. Like I said, we do lots with other departments, especially the undercover stuff, so that most people won't even know that we're involved in it unless something comes out in the papers or on Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, because it'd be hard for example, you to do undercover around here because everybody knows you.
Yeah, I've been here all my life, and it would be very difficult for me to go do something undercover.
Yeah.
Everybody knows me here. You're correct. Everybody knows me.
So yeah, that's. Well, have there been crimes in this area that maybe you weren't expecting that would come out of this area?
We get, as bad as I hate to say it, there's some very bad things that do happen here. Our normal stuff is not horrible. Our domestics are up. I think our domestics are up because everyone's been locked up in their houses for the 3 months, and we kind of expected that. But we do have some things that happen that are more horrendous crimes than what people expect. That we deal with on, not necessarily on a normal basis, but from time to time that we have occurred, and we don't like those, but we hope to push those out the best we can out of the city, or at least keep them to the bare minimum that we can.
Yeah, you want them to know that you're not going to put up with that.
That is correct. We want them to know that we're here and that we're not going to deal with some of the stuff that's coming down the line.
And what about the youth? I know you can't. You wouldn't go into names. Of course, naturally, I don't want names. But how's the youth around here? Is it? I mean, being a former teacher, I mean, I know there's a small percentage that are misbehaved.
We don't have a horrible amount of problems with the youth. There is some problems with drug use in our youth. We have some issues with them about sitting on parking lots and things at night where the businesses call and want to run off. And I've talked to my guys about it. I expect them, if they see a bunch of them sitting around, pull up on the parking lot and talk to them and see what's going on. Just make sure that nothing's going on. Just because they're sitting there doesn't necessarily mean that they're breaking the law.
No.
But it never hurts to pull up and check on them. Plus, I want our youth to know who the officers are, and I want them to be able to trust our officers. And by them stopping and talking to them, they maybe develop some sort of connection where if something does happen, they'll go to the officer and say, hey, I want to tell you about this.
Well, that's a good point because, from time to time, I know if you develop that relationship, people are not afraid to come up to you and say, hey, I saw this, or I'm hearing about this.
That's very true. And that's what we want. Most of the time, and the sheriff mentioned this last night in the county commission meeting, most of the time, even the people that we arrest, I'll see them in Walmart and they're like, hey, how you doing? I just, I appreciate what I know that you were just doing your job, and you've helped me change my life, or you might have helped me turn my life around, and I appreciate what you did. And I appreciate you treating me like somebody. So we get a lot of that.
Well, that's the key. When people recognize you're just doing your job and you're not out to get them, you're just having to do because that's the law.
That's correct.
And I know you don't make up the laws; you just have to enforce them.
That's correct. We're not out here to harass anyone. We're just out here to uphold the law and enforce the laws as we're supposed to.
Right. I mean, and whether they realize it or not, they would want you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, without us, the streets could probably run rampant, and hopefully we keep that under control enough where everyone's safe and they don't have to worry about coming out and about, and they don't have to worry about their kids being out and about in town either.
Well, of course, again, I refer back to going back to the news. You see a lot of these bigger cities that have just gone crazy with violent crimes now, with the defund the police and things like that. And of course, we're a small rural area, but that could easily happen here if a movement like that started.
It could definitely move this direction. I work closely with the mayor and the commission, and one of the things with the 4th of July, if the protest should happen to have shown up, I told the mayor straight up front, we're going to uphold the law. We're not going to let anybody vandalize anything. We're not going to let anybody burn anything. We're not going to let anybody, destroy anything. We're going to handle it the way that it should be handled, and in hopes that everyone sees we're not going to tolerate that stuff here.
And I think you'd have plenty of citizens here that would help support y'all if y'all needed the help. If y'all were being attacked, they would come in.
My phone rang off the hook for probably 3 weeks of citizens in our town that were, hey, is there something I can do to help y'all? Is there, is there anything I can do? Is there something y'all need? I mean, it was, hey, if something does show up, I want you to know I've got your back. I had the support was outstanding, I have to say here. And even if someone had shown up on the 4th and it was more than what law enforcement could control, I'm pretty sure that our citizens, from talking to several of them, would have been right there to back us up.
Oh, I'm sure. I just feel like they would. And I felt safe because I was helping with the filming, and I didn't feel at ease. I mean, I felt at ease the whole time. There was no.
That's good, and that's what we wanted out of everyone. We wanted all of our citizens to feel safe and not have to worry about enjoying their Fourth.
Right. I know sometimes a lot of people, when they see a police car or blue lights or anything, they tense up, and but that's not the case here.
It's a lot of that. I guess that's what is taught to our citizens over the years. I guess even me growing up, my family was, you have to watch what you do, or the police are going to get you. Well, that's not what we're here for. We're here to help people. People make mistakes, and sometimes we have to deal with those mistakes for people. But our main job here is to help people.
Right, you're not out to get people.
We're not out to get people. We just want to do what's right, and we want to keep law and order in the city.
And I imagine even those that commit some of the more the worst crimes, or even the drugs, you're not really after them. You want to help them get back to starting on a good life.
Yeah, there's several programs in place that help people that are in those situations, or that they do those crimes, to help rehabilitate them and get them back on the right path. And myself and the sheriff both have talked about that, and we're in full support of those. And we've even talked with Cethra about implementing some more through some grant money that they have, that hopefully that they will get into I guess get started here shortly.
Well, and the thing about this area, we're not going to stay small long.
We are definitely growing. I would have, growing up in this town, how small it was and how things were, to what it is now. We're booming. I mean, we're booming. This is one of the fastest growing areas in the state, and with that brings more crime and more people, and that's things we have to adapt to as in law enforcement and as city government, as we grow.
Well, I can remember, I've been here 30 plus years now, and I can remember when where Taco Bell and all that was just a field, and then once you got really past the Ace Hardware, there wasn't a whole lot that way. Is a lot of field.
Yeah, I remember those days. I can remember when the main part of town was pretty much right here in the center of town around Cherry Street.
Right.
We have definitely developed out and grown over the last 30 years.
And with that growth will come, I guess, some growing problems, or continued problems, but that's to be expected, I guess.
That is true. I mean, you expect that stuff as you go, but we also want to make sure that even with those growing situations, that we're able to handle those and adapt to that and move on and still keep our town safe.
Well, Randy, it's about time for us to end. Do you have anything you want to add that you haven't said?
I guess more than anything else, I would like to thank the citizens of this town for allowing me to serve, and to allow my officers to serve, and to thank the mayor and the commission for putting me in this position and giving me the support that they give me. I have an outstanding commission that has stood behind me along the way, and I really do appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it. I know when I've had to call from time to time for various little things, always been there within minutes, and been very helpful.
We try our best to be right there whenever anybody needs us, whether it comes to changing a light bulb for the elderly, or changing a tire for anyone out on the side of the road, or answering any kind of call. We try to be there as quick as we can.
Randy, I certainly appreciate you being here today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and I appreciate you having me.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequatchie Valley.